I want to talk to you today about ignore the roar. Anytime we try to move forward, thoughts will come telling us what we can't do and how it's not going to work out, how the problem is too big. We know what God promised. We believe it in our heart, but all these doubts start to bombard our mind. And the scripture says, the enemy goes about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. The purpose of a lion's roar is to intimidate their opponents, to strike fear and terror, so much so that it will paralyze the other animal. There are animals that are larger, an elephant, a hippopotamus. They're much bigger, stronger. But when the lion roars, it's so powerful, so intimidating, they back down. In the same way, our enemy loves to roar, not out loud, but in our thoughts. Do yourself a favor, start ignoring the roar. Yes, it's loud. Yes, it's convincing. This is where faith has to kick in. I'm going to believe what God says about me. I am who He says I am. I can do what He says I can do. I was afraid. I was intimidated. Didn't know if I could do it, but I started speaking victory. I started declaring the promises over my life. I am strong in the Lord. I can do all things through Christ. I've been raised up for such a time as this. I'm equipped, empowered, anointed. Sometimes you need to ignore the roar. Other times you need to roar back. When those lies say that you'll never get well, instead of accepting it, roar back. No thanks. God is restoring health back into me. I will live and not die. The enemy is good at roaring. You need to get good at roaring. What God put in your spirit belongs to you. Now go after it. You have to get in agreement with your heart and not your head. If I would have listened to the roar, I would have turned around and never made it into my promised land. If I would have let the fear, intimidation take root, I wouldn't be up here. I wouldn't have seen the books, wouldn't have seen the Compact Center, wouldn't have seen Sirius Radio. Are you missing out on something because you're listening to the roar? Are you watering down dreams, playing it safe, stuck in your comfort zone, not believing you can beat the cancer, accepting the addiction? My prayer is you'll recognize it's only a roar. Those thoughts that are limiting, defeated, intimidating, they are lies to try to keep you from the greatness that's in you. He uses intimidation, fear, doubt to try to paralyze us. Thoughts like, you'll never get well. You saw the medical report. You'll never break the addiction. Everyone in your family struggles. You can't accomplish that dream. You don't have the talent. How you handle the roar will determine whether or not you reach your destiny. If you believe the lies, let the fear take root, it will keep you from seeing the promise. You have to learn to ignore the roar. Don't pay attention to the threats. The enemy is all bark and no bite. He goes about as a roaring lion. He's not a lion. He doesn't have any power over you. The only power he has is the power you give him by believing the roar. And what's playing so loud in your mind, telling you that the sickness is permanent, the depression will hinder you your whole life, your business will never go to a new level? That roar is to try to convince you to give up on what God promised. The reason it's loud, the reason it's consistent is because the enemy knows he's on your territory. He's threatening you, hoping you'll shrink back, believe the lies, and settle for mediocrity. Why don't you start ignoring the roars and go after what God put in your heart? See, the enemy is a bully. Bullies are loud. Bullies are intimidating. Bullies will try to threaten you, to control you, and keep you down.